Welcome to lesson 2, problem number 4, where we are going to use our new skills of cross multiplying to solve some problems that will work really well as proportions. So because these are word problems, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And you can always contact me with questions, but I'm going to zoom in so that we can see the problems a little more clearly. Okay, so this first problem right here, it basically says that Michael travels 700 miles in 14 hours, and we want to know how far he can travel in 3 hours. We're going to try this without a calculator. So the way I like to start it off is by either writing miles over hours or hours over miles. It really makes no difference as long as you're consistent. So just for the purposes of this problem, I'm just going to go with miles over hours. And now I'm just going to plug everything in. So miles over hours, the first thing we know is that 700 miles in 14 hours, and we want to know how far he can travel in 3 hours. So our variable is going to be the x that I'm going to put up in the top because we want to know the miles and we know the hours are 3. And just like that, this really kind of confusing problem, or somewhat confusing problem, or potentially confusing problem, can be solved by some simple cross multiplying. So we now have 14x equals 3 times 7 is 21, so it's 2100. Divide both sides by 14. And here's where some good math comes in. So I'm going to rewrite it as I know that 7 goes into 2100 300 times, and I know that 7 goes into 14 2 times. And just like that, we get 150 because we know 300 over 2 is 150. Just to make sure you saw what I did there, I divided the numerator of 2100 by 7, and I divided the denominator of 14 by 7. That way I didn't need a calculator. Remember that this is miles, so I'm just going to put a little m for miles. Okay, let's go to problem B. I'm a big Cubs fan, so hopefully you like the Cubs as well. But this time we have a model of Wrigley Field where the Chicago Cubs play, and they use a scale in which 0.5, otherwise really pronounced as 5/10 inches or a half inch, represents 8 feet. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say scale over actual, or I could say inches over feet. Let's just do inches over feet, but as long as you're consistent, you can write it out any way you like. So I'm going to put the 5/10 in with the inches, and I'm going to put the 8 in with the feet. Okay, we know that we have 23 inches, so the 23 is going to go in the numerator where we keep inches, and the x is going to be in the denominator. So basically what we're trying to do here is we're looking at a model of Wrigley Field, and all we know is that in the model that we have 23 inches. And that is, we're going to find out how far it is in the real world from the right center field wall to home plate. Okay, let's cross multiply. So I'm going to just simply show this step because we've done a lot of cross multiplying. So 5/10 x equals, and if you don't remember how to do 23 times 8, I will remind you, but you're going to basically do 8 times 3 is 24. So you put the 4 there, carry the 2. 8 times 2 is 16, plus this 2 gives us 18. Another good way to do it is to do 8 times 20 is 160, 8 times 3 is 24, 160 and 24 gives us 184. Okay, now here's the interesting part. It's a very common error to want to do something with this where you're just like, oh, well then x must be 9 because we're dividing. And I'm just going to take that part away for a minute. But really what we're doing is we're dividing by 1/2. So at this point, we're dividing both sides by 0.5 or 5/10, which we know is 1/2. I'm going to change it to 1/2 because then I know, this was 184. I somehow deleted that 4. So now it's simply 184 divided by 1/2 is the same as multiplying by 2 over 1. So we should get 184 times 2 is 368 feet is our final answer. Okay, let's look at C. Okay, basically our 2 items here are sugar and cookies. two things that I love. Let's just put sugar in the numerator, cookies in the denominator. I'm just writing it out so we're consistent. Sugar and cookies. Okay, in this case, it says that we have 1 2/3 cups of sugar. I'm going to change 1 2/3 to an improper fraction. Right now it's a mixed number at 1 2/3. I'm going to do that just to remind you. I'll do it over here. To do 1 2/3 as a mixed number, you're basically going to multiply, then add, and keep the denominator. So 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5, and you keep the denominator of 3. So the amount of sugar is 5/3 of a cup, and that produces 12 cookies. And we want to know if we have 5 cups of sugar, how many cookies can we make? So we're once again going to cross multiply. And I'm once again going to put the variable on the left. So I have 5/3 x equals 12 times 5 is 60. Try not to use the calculator. If you can do 5 times 10 is 50, 5 times 2 is 10, add that together and get 60. Okay, once again, we could either multiply this equation through by 3. We could also rewrite it as 5x over 3 equals 60 over 1. Or we could always divide 60 by 5/3. Lots of ways to do it, but I'm going to just write it like this for right now as 5x over 3, because that x would multiply the 5 and become 5x. And it's over 3, and 60 can be written as 60 over 1. When I cross multiply, I'm going to just write it right here. I get 5x equals 180. Divide both sides by 5. And x equals, you can use a calculator if needed, but I'd love for you to know that 5 goes into 18 3 times, and there's like another 3 10s left over, and 5 goes into 30 6 times. So feel free to do long division. Feel free to continually reduce that fraction, but you'll get x equals 36. So the answer is 36 cookies. Okay, so it's 36, and I'm just going to put the word cookies down here. Okay, great job. See you